Hello, everybody. It's Mrs. Pound, and we have been studying Chapter 6.1 on genetics from Purposeful Designs Life Science. Now, today is our last video for this chapter. And what we're going to look at today is Section 617 on human genetics. So, our objectives today will be to identify some codominant alleles and explain what sex-linked traits are and why they affect males more than females. So let's start with the idea of the genome. This is the total genetic material for an organism. And maybe you've heard talk before of the Human Genome Project. What they did with the Human Genome Project is they mapped all of the DNA in a human. So they took the chromosomes and they found out where all the genes were on every single chromosome that uh, codes for every trait in humans. So that's what the Human Genome Project was about. So it's figuring out where the genes are for every single trait that makes up an organism. There are some alleles that are codominant. Remember, alleles are the factors that are dominant and recessive. In genes, and we get one allele from each parent. And an allele that is neither dominant nor recessive is codominant. So, for example, I have a Dalmatian in the background. For a Dalmatian, if the alleles are black and white for fur color in their coat, then if one or the other was dominant, that would be expressed. But we can see that both are there. So it is codominant. It has, if black was dominant, the dog would just be all black. If white was dominant, it would be all white. But it's black and white, so these must be codominant. Now, if there was blending, black and white would mean that there would be gray, but there's not. So that's why they're codominant. They're dominant at the same time. They are both expressed. And so that's why you get black and white in the fur of things like the Dalmatian and other animals because there are codominant alleles. Blood type is also codominant. So the alleles for blood type are big IA for type A, big IB for type B, and little I for type O blood. Type O blood is recessive, and A and B are codominant in blood type. I don't know where the I's came from, so if you're wondering that, I can't tell you that. Now, the possible genotypes for blood type, because remember we have to have an allele from each of our parents, are IA or IA little I. Okay, so this would be the heterozygous type A, or excuse me, homozygous type A, heterozygous type A. So homozygous type A, heterozygous type A. And then for type B, we have IBIB or IB little I. And again, homozygous type B, heterozygous type B. And then we have the codominant blood type of IA-IB. So this is the only possible, and see, they are heterozygous. This is the only possible combination for type AB blood. And then for type O blood, this is recessive, so it's little I, and notice only one possibility, homozygous for that one, in order for a person to have type O blood. In humans, there's also what are called sex-linked traits. This is a trait that is carried on the X chromosome. Some examples are hemophilia and color blindness. And I have one of those charts. Maybe you've seen this at the eye doctors. This is a chart that they use to determine if somebody is colorblind. They will ask them, do you see a number in there? And if you can't see the number, you have a certain kind of color blindness. Usually red-green color blindness is the most common, which is difficult because that's what our traffic lights are. So it can cause some issues there. So people have to memorize where the traffic lights are, which gets confusing when you go to Canada because I think it's switched. So you have to watch out for that and know about that. But these sex-linked traits are also more common in males than in females because remember, females have two X chromosomes, males only have one. And so females have more genetic material on the other chromosome to cancel out. A lot of times, these sex linked traits are recessive. So if they have a dominant on the other chromosome, it's good. You don't see it. They're what we call carriers. They carry the gene, but they don't express it. But males are lacking genetic material on the Y chromosome to counteract what's on the X chromosome. And so then they have that no matter what, because that's the only gene they have for it. It's the only allele they have. And we tend to follow these traits with a pedigree chart. So, hemophilia, this is a pedigree chart. And so we have a carrier female here and a normal male. And you will see that that carrier female has a hemophiliac male there for her offspring because he got just that allele for that. She has a couple of normal female, a carrier female, and normal male offspring. So you can see just that gene getting passed down. And then this carrier female here has a hemophiliac son, and then they have passed it on as well for the hemophilia. So where here, the sons don't have it because this mother is normal and Masset only passes the normal on to the males, but then they produce a carrier female for hemophilia. And we'll be getting into this more in class. With all of these, with the pedigree chart and with the blood typing, we will do some Punnett squares together, but I wanted to introduce the idea to you in the video. So our objectives today were to identify codominant alleles and explain what sex-linked traits are and why they affect males more than females. So don't forget your 5 questions and continue watching the video to answer the questions at the end. Now this is the last video, so you should be studying for your test and starting to fill out the review at the end of the packet.